Hey, you want to see something really scary?
What's your favorite scary movie?
I'm gonna scare the hell out of you.
What was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
When there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk here.
What's blood for, if not for shedding?
Welcome to Fright Night.
Welcome back to Jump Scare. I'm Betty.
And I'm Shad.
This week we're covering the 35th anniversary of The Lost Boys.
Michael and Sam have just moved to Santa Carla, California. They're about to discover its secret.
Notice anything unusual about Santa Carla yet?
No. It's a pretty cool place. If you're a Martian.
Or a vampire.
So where are you? The flying nun?
I'm your brother, Sammy. Help me!
Stay back! Stay back!
What's happening in the star?
Get yourself a good sharp steak. Drive it right through his heart.
You're a vampire, Michael. My own brother, a damn blood-sucking vampire. Well, you wait till Mom finds out, buddy.
When a vampire bites it, it's never a pretty sight.
Michael, they're coming! Oh, Sam!
So this film was directed by Joel Schumacher, who also did Batman and a bajillion other things.
Yes, sadly he did Batman.
Okay. I have very fond memories of that movie is fabulous. What are you talking about right now?
Batman
you
and
like
Robin?
Poison Ivy, that's why.
No, Batman, the first one.
No.
No.
Tim Burton
that was Tim
did
Burton.
that.
He
He did the terrible
did the one with the
ones.
nipples.
Okay, Drew Barrymore was in that one.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
And he did the Batman and Robin, the terrible version. Even worse than the first one that he did.
Fine. Oh, yeah, that was Tim Burton. How could I? Okay. My mind is obviously.
One nerd point removed.
Yeah, please remove it, and it needs to be removed. It needs to be removed. You know why? Because that movie, even looking back now, does not feel like a Tim Burton movie to me. Because he literally has, like, solidified specific style, and that movie, I don't equate that. I don't really put that in the line of, like, his other films. But okay, we'll put this aside.
Really?
Yes.
The Penguin and, like, the kooky Catwoman hat? Like,
No, just, like, the look of it, like...
When's the last time you saw it?
Beetlejuice, and they all, like, I don't know. They all have different... And maybe it's more his modern stuff. Like, Big Fish, Alice in Wonderland... He did do Alice in Wonderland, right?
You're listening to the Tim Burton podcast.
We'll talk about Tim Burton. Obviously, we have to talk about him at one point. I don't think we've done any of his films.
No, I don't think so.
Which is shocking. Jeffrey Boehm. He was a screenwriter and who also did, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And he did Inner Space, which is one of my other favorite movies. So, kudos to you. You knew what the fuck you were doing because I love both of those films. Well, this is like an all-star cast, in my opinion.
Also, before we go any further, also returning to the podcast is our friend Carrie.
Oh, yes, I'm so sorry.
Carrie.
Even though she's been talking anonymously now for a little while.
She said at the beginning she didn't want to get in the intro, so then I just started in and ran with it and forgot about her.
Hi.
Carrie, is this one of your favorite films?
No. This is my favorite film.
There we go. Narrowed that down.
To where I can't really watch it anymore. Because I've seen it probably over 200 times.
Didn't you have to be quieted down at the Enzian at one point because you were quoting the movie along with it?
It's very possible that both of you definitely probably told me to shut up.
I don't remember in that movie, it was in Tremors. And that was because we were outside and she was just on it. Like, it was just like, whoa.
Yeah.
And I remember going and looking at her and saying, Carrie, I paid to see this movie, which is funny because we didn't pay. I think it was a free movie. Yeah. But I was like, I came to see this movie. For that, I could have just stayed home and had you reenact it. And actually, before we die...
We should do that, please, with puppets.
Yes, you're going to reenact this movie.
I will.
So, this movie has some veteran actors. It has... Well, actually, now, considered it's been 35 years, they're all veteran actors.
Yeah, they're all veterans now.
Unfortunately, a lot have left this plane. But Diane Wiest is in the movie, plays Lucy. Wink. Has to be a nod to Bram Stoker.
Yeah, I think so.
Ed Herman, who's Max.
Love.
Oh, Max Shrek. Wink. Another.
A little nod there.
Is that also another nod? Okay. Corey Haim, who plays Sam. We have Corey Feldman, one of the Five Brothers. Kiefer Sutherland is David. Jason Patrick is Michael. Jamie Gertz is Star, and Alex Winter is Marco. And you know what? There's other people too in the movie. Oh, the grandfather is a veteran, but I forgot his name.
Bernard Hughes, is that it?
Bernard Hughes, yes.
Yes.
We should have asked Carrie. From now on, any question we have is going to be redirected to Carrie. Carrie, just fill in. Don't even wait.
You know what's sad is I don't actually know who that actor is. I've just seen the behind-the-scenes commentary so many times that I remember them saying, but I think they pronounced it Barnard Hughes.
Probably. That's just off the top of my head.
Barnard.
He gets the best line of the movie. The ending line of it,
All the damn vampires.
Yep.
This film came out in 1987, July 31st, 1987. So it would be 35 years to the month that this film came out. It was a box office hit. It only cost $8 million to make, a little over $8 million, and it made over $30 million, which was a big deal back in 1987.
Yeah, back before you had to make $1 billion your opening weekend to be considered a success.
So
this movie also, unfortunately, completely destroyed another movie that we love, The Monster Squad.
Yeah, it obliviated.
It came out like the next week, and no one gave a shit because they were all busy watching Lost Boys.
How funny that your favorite movie went up against mine.
Yeah, which is crazy because the marketing obviously was terrible, and we've seen the marketing for The Monster Squad, like some of the posters that came out.
Oh, the statutory rap one?
Yeah, statutory rap. No, that's so bad. So bad.
I thought that was a good idea.
That definitely did not work. But one film is for kids, and the other one is for, I would say, adults. Teenage adults. I wouldn't have my daughter, technically my daughter's 4, but I wouldn't have like a 10-year-old watch Lost Boys.
And I was been watching that since I was probably 2.
Which is crazy because the Monster Squad would not fit in today's, it would be it's very un-PC.
Yeah.
Some of the things that are said in the film would not live up to today. So, unfortunately, it doesn't, stand the test of time. It does for me. I love the movie. I love both films. But what I find interesting about The Lost Boys is it's one of those films that it's actually, for me, and, jump in, send me the Instagram messages, whatever. The first horror film, vampire horror film that came out that was, I guess, I don't want to say sexy.
That's how it's described.
But it definitely sets apart from what we have known about vampires. Where we all know about, obviously, Bram Stoker's, vampire, that world of vampires. We know about, what's his face, Max Shrek, forgot the damn name, Nosferatu. And I don't want to have sex. Look, I'm gonna throw this out there. All these old vampire movies, although the Hammer ones, I've never wanted to bang any of the vampires in those films. Okay, maybe some of the chicks look hot, but the guys, I was like, no, this is why the guys had the powers of entrancing the women. Because there was no way a woman in the right mind would be like, yes, I'm going to let you have sex with me and suck all my blood out. No. But you get David, Michael, and one of those other guys, maybe. Some of those other guys looked a little too, for me. I didn't like the hair. But definitely David or Michael.
The one from Bill and Ted, I hated
Alex
his hair.
Winter, yeah.
His hair was so bad.
It's really bad.
All the other ones, because that was their actual hair.
Yeah, and also that was the style. It was the style back in the day.
They were being hip, cool guys.
Yeah, I want to have sex with those guys. So, and yet we have a comedy. It's a little horror. So it had a mix of different genres within it, and then adding on to the veteran actors, or I should say at the time, the very good actors. You have Ed Herman and Diane Wiest as the adults in the film, and everything the chemistry of it all just really worked.
Yeah, and I'm old enough to remember when it first came out, and there were a lot of people that were loving it for the reasons that you said, and there were a bunch of people that hated it for all those reasons. Because it was like, oh, this is a vampire movie? It's an MTV vampire movie.
It was the sparkling vampire of its time to some people.
To some people, they hated it. They were like, no, vampires are not running around and riding on motorcycles and blah and all this. It's like, there's room for other interpretations, but you know how people are. They can't accept a lot of new things right away. A few years go by and everybody loves it. But at first there was it's like the whole thing with Star Trek. Next Generation came out and everybody hated it. They're like, oh God, this show is so terrible. A couple years go by and they're like, this show's okay.
Yeah, it broke the mold for a lot of things. The other thing is it's set in Santa Cruz, California. That when you think of California, you think sun, bright, happy. You don't think vampires.
Well, Santa Carla.
But
it's actually Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
Yes. But they didn't want the trope of actually being the murder capital of the world.
Yeah, they thought that might hurt tourism.
Yes.
I can't imagine why. But yeah, so like I said, I remember everyone. I was a lot of among the horror fans, but like I said, were not pleased with the movie. They thought it was too MTV-ish. They're like, oh, this is just a sell. It's like a big long video.
Well, and they must have not been part of the $30 million that
Oh no, they were. They just went and saw it and complained about it.
They went back home and they wrote long letters because as you did at the time, you would write a letter into wherever it was.
You wrote a letter to Fangoria bitching about it.
There was no internet or people to troll anymore.
Thank God.
No, you just had to go and write to Fangoria, which I love when they show the old Fangoria letter columns where people are writing in and like, oh Jesus Christ, The Shining is the worst fucking movie I've ever seen in my life. Someone should take away the camera from Stanley Kubrick. And you're like, okay. There's always that one guy.
If you are going to be a vampire, I feel like you definitely. I feel like the 80s would have been a total bitchin' time to be a vampire, especially in California. I mean, God, all the people out on the boardwalk, walking around, having fun out there. Like, I'm sure they all tasted yummy.
Probably doing a lot of coke.
Ooh, no! I feel like that would make is that like the rabies vampire, like a vampire that a vampire that bites someone that has done coke, and then the vampire becomes ravenous and crazy because they got the coke in their blood because they get that in their blood system, and then become crazy, and then they're just like, rah,
is that like an extra spice to them or something?
I think it's just like an extra spice.
Nah, I would say it would affect them the same way that it would affect a human person. And then are these vampires, then this is the other thing with vampires. Are they the living dead or are they the undead? I don't think they actually kind of cover
I think they're
that.
The living dead.
Right? You're going to say they're the living dead?
I'll say living dead.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because they don't look dead.
The undead is more zombie.
Alive. Well, no, there's a lot of zombies. There's a lot of vampires out there that you look at what the characteristic, they're like the undead vampire.
Yeah, some of them, like the Anne Rice always describes them as they all get super pale and they get like
those characteristics
gaunt.
Of like
they get kind of like gaunt and pale, and the Anne Rice vampires seem to lose their sex drive, whereas they certainly didn't lose their sex drive in Lost Boys.
Hell,
they were all out there trying to get.
They didn't really have a sex drive, to be fair.
Well,
it was perceived.
Yeah, it was perceived. we didn't really see them per se banging any girls. Obviously, that would have been a whole other movie.
I mean, David had Star, but
and was she really his? I mean, I felt like she was like an abused woman trying to get away.
I was gonna say an abused dog.
Wow.
Damn.
Not that he treated her like a dog, but like I guess abused woman would be better.
Since she was one.
Yeah.
So so we know that they're able to turn into. This is the other thing, like the whole vampire lore. Like, are they shapeshifters? Can they turn into bats? Can they turn into dogs? Can they do the fog?
They left it very ambiguous.
Yeah.
Except their feet were like bat-like.
Yeah, I kind of felt like if they'd had more money, they might have shown them actually transform into like a bat creature.
Because they do fly, but they never show them flying. And they do transform in their face, and obviously when they're sleeping, their feet are like bats' feet.
So I always thought if they'd had the money, they would have shown them be like kind of like a full bat creature.
But then I don't want to have sex with that. So maybe they didn't. That's why they didn't.
They didn't want to ruin that.
Carrie's looking at me like, don't you?
Wouldn't you, though?
Bat feet, wink.
He's hanging upside down from the ceiling, holding you.
Those tonos were funky. It's like, come on. They couldn't fit in those boots.
Let's
they got to take their feet. They got to change their feet back before they put the boots on.
Oh. Because they don't have to be buying boots all the damn time because they're...
Yeah, you want your feet to vamp out in there.
Out,
Which this was the movie that introduced the whole vamp out phrase that everybody uses from then on, too.
Max's outfits.
Yes.
So I know obviously this is set in the 80s. And of course, when I think of Max's outfits, I think of Back to the Future, the Doc Brown's outfits.
Yeah, it's the big oversized jacket, which is weird because that jacket I bought is kind of like the one he's wearing. The checkered black and white one.
Yeah, I love his...
It's like the Talking Heads kind of suit where everybody has the big shoulders that you can move around in.
Yes. How, like, ridiculous. And his stature. I mean, he's fucking huge.
Yeah, that guy is giant. I always thought Edward Herman, they should have just picked him to play Herman Munster at some point. It would have been perfect.
Because of his last name
yes.
and his stature. How dare you?
How tall do you think he is?
I think he was...
He's what I thought.
6'11". Wait, is that
no?
Is that a height?
Yes.
I'm really terrible with math. 6'3".
Higher.
Wow, higher than 6'3" you go.
6'7".
Lower.
6'6".
Lower.
6'6". 6'5". Carrie.
6'5". Yes.
She's higher, lower.
We're not on the Price is Right here.
What's my price? Did I want to watch this?
And then his glasses. Yeah, like I feel like he was also wearing shoulder pads.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you can't be in an 80s movie and not be wearing fucking shoulder pads at one point. Diane Weiss is wearing shoulder pads.
That was very much a woman thing because it made their shoulders broader like a man's.
The man also wear the shoulder pads. Believe me. They also had the shoulder pads. The guys that were dressing like that, like the whole, like, I don't want to say new wave, but esque.
Yeah.
New wave-esque.
New wave for an older person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very strange. But he's supposed to have, like, when you think of, like, a vampire, always think of, like, they're affluent, they're worldly,
yes.
They're well-mannered because they have to have charm.
Yes. I never thought of that.
And he had all of those things.
Yes. And Diane Weiss is just, like, to me, she is the epitome of, like, a mom.
For sure.
That parenthood, like, and I just find her amazing. If I ever wanted a mom that's from a movie,
that would be the mom.
Likewise. It would be Diane Weiss, 1,000%.
For sure, Diane Weiss, yes, because she's total mom material. She's the mom's mom, and which is why he wanted her, because he needed a mom to control these lost boys.
Yes,
it
was all about her.
He needed a Wendy if he was going to be Peter Pan. He needed a Wendy.
True. Yeah. Because they talked a lot about that in the behind the scenes.
Oh, they did? Okay.
That it was originally supposed to be like younger kids and very much a Lost Boys, Wendy, Peter Pan kind of thing. And Joel Schumacher's the one that came in and said, let's sex it up and make them older.
Joel Schumacher was all about sexing it up. Let's put the nipples on the bat suit. Let's do all this. Let's get going. He really wanted to sex it
If the
up.
bat suit, okay, not to detract from the Lost Boys. If the bat suit is supposed to be a man's chest, it's gonna have nipples. It's not obviously emulating a bat.
Do bats have nipples?
I don't know. I think I know what
Are
I think
they
they actually
mammals?
do. I think they actually
They're
have
mammals,
some kind of nipples.
They're
They do.
mammals, so they would.
Yes, I'm going on. Bats do have nipples, and you heard it here first, guys. Jump Scare Podcast. Bats have nipples. And Batman.
Oh, that's a good, bad made-for-TV sci-fi movie.
The bats who have nipples.
Yes.
Excuse me.
So do they have nipples, Carrie?
According to Google, they have awesome nipples.
Oh, amazing. I need to be a bat.
Yes. They have teats.
Bat me up. What is your favorite scene? I already know what your favorite scene is, Carrie, but tell the world what your favorite scene is in the film.
It's the concert with Tim Capello. Is that what you were thinking?
Tim Capello,
yes.
Who's a sweetheart.
Who we got to meet. I almost bought baby oil from him, but I got something signed that I can't find. I know, I can't find it. We got to see him in concert, thrust in that, what is it called? Cog piece?
Yeah, the cod piece.
Yeah. Thrusting around, and he's lovely. But yeah, I love that scene. There's many scenes I like.
What were we watching that we saw? It was a Tina Turner concert, right?
Yeah.
And I don't remember what we were watching, but he was with her for many years, touring as a saxophonist until.
Yes, and then I actually watched, there's something on Netflix that he's on.
Yeah, it's a show about celebrity stories or something like that. I can't remember
said
what it
that
was.
he was huge, touring. All the musicians in the 80s had saxophonists, and then it just
He
went
specifically
away.
said Nirvana killed it.
Yeah,
because when everybody came out when Nirvana came out, and everybody was like, "Oh, we got to have grunge now." He's like,
but it is
saxophones.
coming back. I've been hearing saxophones in.
Saxophones are awesome.
Yes.
He's like Nirvana with the whole grunge. Nobody wanted a happy saxophone playing in the background. He's like, that was the end of it.
I'm going to tell you right now, I would have loved to have seen Tim Capello pop up. That would be a crazy fucking skit. Pop up in one of the Nirvana videos. And he's playing a saxophone gyrating.
But it's grunge saxophone.
Yes, grunge sax. The sax is wearing a plaid shirt.
It's painted plaid.
Yeah, that would be funny.
And it's a low down saxophone.
Or his codpiece has a tied plaid around it.
That's what I thought. What's your favorite? Wait, before I ask you this, did you see this film in the movie theater?
Yes, I did.
You did. I think maybe you mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, I did.
I thought you were going to ask me, and I'd say, well, I was born 4 months after it was released.
So she might have, for all we know.
So I just happened to have 4 older 80s siblings, 80s baby siblings, who were watching it, and I got to see it when I was very young, because when you're number 4, it doesn't even matter anymore.
Yeah, they're like, oh, whatever.
You're alive. You're breathing.
I saw it in the theaters, and then I left the theater and
Do you
went.
still have the ticket stub?
It was just a red thing, a red ticket. It wasn't a printed.
They didn't
out.
have printed tickets those
They didn't. That didn't start until at least in Joplin, it didn't start.
It was
until,
a carnival ticket, admit one.
Yeah, most of them until it wasn't probably the year after this that the theater started putting in the ones that actually had the name on them, because you could have saved it, but it wouldn't have meant anything. But no, I left the theater and drove out to the mall and went into Music Land and bought the soundtrack on vinyl.
Wow.
Which I have myself. Do you still have it?
Yeah, I still have it, yeah.
Why has this never been played?
It's in the collection over there.
Is it? Oh,
Yep.
shit. I don't remember even seeing that.
It's in there.
Okay, that's cool.
But yeah, I just, the fact that you could still go to the music store on the mall, that was a thing,
Yeah, well, fuck, it was 1987.
Everything was at the mall.
Yeah, nothing. The mall was the place, as this generation has learned via watching Stranger Things Season 3.
You had the mall. At one end, there was B. Dalton and Music Land. At the other end was Walden Books and Camelot Music. So you had your choice of which one you were going to go to. go out to the mall, look and see who had it a little bit cheaper, and then go back.
No, I was always about Walden Books because Walden Books, at least the one I went to, Walden Books always had every single thing by R.L. Stine, all the Fear Streets, and the Christopher Pikes, and the Babysitter's Club. So when I would go to Barnes & Noble, it was like slim pickings. I was like, what is this? So Walden Books was my place, and I was devastated.
At the mall I grew up at in Joplin, the Walden bookstore was the small one. The B. Dalton was the giant one that was like spread out with like places to sit down and read and everything. And it was the same way with like Musicland and Camelot. Musicland was huge, had all these things, had a ton of stuff, and then Camelot was really small. So it was like they had like each end had a small one, music store and a big bookstore on each end.
Do you
of
remember
it.
Peaches?
Oh yes, I remember.
I went to the Peaches up here.
No, they didn't have that.
And met Diamond Dallas Page, the wrestler.
Wow.
I know. Don't ask me why.
Yeah, no, I think that's more of a southern store. I may be wrong. But
it was
that's how
big.
I know Peaches.
It was like, what's the one in California? Something Records.
Tower.
Yeah, don't they have like Tower?
Yeah, there's Tower
stores.
Records, yeah.
It was similar to that. Let's get back on track.
This happens on other podcasts when people are on. They just start talking about random bullshit. We got to reel it in. Reel it in back to the 35th anniversary of The Lost Boys.
So I think when you asked me, and we never did get to answer it. My favorite part of it was I always loved the very end where they're having to fight off all the vampires because it was the first one where you actually saw them go and like get the holy water and put it in squirt guns.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
And then, just with all this, they didn't just get the little stakes. They had to do it. They filled the bathtub with holy water. They did all that kind of stuff. I thought that was great.
Before this was a thing, they Home Alone did.
Yeah.
Which you can't reference. You can't say the Home Alone did because that hadn't happened yet. But yes, they booby trapped the whole house, which is really smart.
Yeah.
And also something you typically don't see in a vampire film because a lot of vampire films either happen at the lair of the vampire or like out and about, but never like in someone's house per se, with the exception of Friday Nights.
Yeah.
My favorite well, you know what? I love all vampire films because I want to become a vampire.
She actually does.
This
has been many conversations.
I could have a conversation all day, every day about my want of becoming a vampire. Like when True Blood, the first episode came out, and I was like, man, is that gonna happen? Like an idiot. I'm like, man, wouldn't that be so cool if they've been living amongst us this whole time and they come out and get integrated into society and then you could choose to be a vampire? I'm so there. Like I bought the True Blood drink. I was one of those. I did. I was one of those creepazoids.
Yeah, the first season of that was pretty good. After that, it started slowly going down.
No, it slowly went down after season 3. Excuse me. You hadn't even seen the rest. I at least saw, we're still talking about vampires.
This is true. I did the real inside.
Now, your favorite part, that part, yes, the showdown.
Yeah.
Now, I have a question for you, sir, because you are, and I forgot the name of the crazy Stephen King people. Let me retract that. The amazing Stephen King fans. What's the name of the fans? We had a whole party. There's like a certain name of Stephen King fans. Nevertheless.
The constant readers.
Yes. The constant readers.
That's cool.
Hello. How could I forget that? Hello. We had a whole party on it. The constant readers. This question is for you.
Yes.
When did Salem's Lot come out?
78.
It was might have been in 77.
Oh, I was total guess.
Yeah.
Okay, so the scene because I didn't want to say, the scene where Michael's at the window and he's trying to get Sam to open the window, that's literally so Salem's Lot in the scene where...
It's the comedy version of it where he can't control himself.
Oh, too funny.
Which they did again in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah.
Yes.
But, they were all kind of parodying Salem.
No,
he's trying to get Luke
I thought you meant
to
he
open
was
the
having
window.
trouble with it. It's like, you're floating, man. Get out of here. Oh, love it.
Yeah, everybody's made fun of or did different homages to that ever since Salem's Lot because that original scene is just so creepy. They did one on The Simpsons where it's Milhouse scratching or Bart scratching on the window to get Milhouse to open the window and that. So yeah, it's hard to top that scene. Even in the original movie when they did it, he's just floating out there scratching on the window. That's so creepy.
I don't have a favorite scene like a whole scene. I just love the end when the grandpa's like, oh yeah, this place is great with the exception of the fucking vampires. I know that Carrie, who I'm going to ask now, I'm going to turn to Carrie. What is the line, Carrie?
It might be paraphrasing a bit, but one thing about living in Santa Carla, I never could stand all the damn vampires.
He knew the whole motherfucking time.
Yeah.
It's like, you knew there was vampires. It's a different story. Like, you're gonna go to Grandpa's house. He has roaches.
To be fair, it could also be like aliens came down to Earth. Well, yeah, there's always been aliens.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But I think they played that into the sequel that they wanted to make. Because, again, if you watch the commentary, the original, there was a scene that was cut out where there was a mural of Max, the head vampire, painted from, like, way back in the day, that he's been in the area for a long time. And it was going to be Lost Girls. And it was going to be the equivalent of, like, his boys, but his girls.
I mean, to be fair, you can't say, oh, there's only, in Santa Clara, there's only, like, 7 vampires around. There's gonna be different vampires living throughout all of California and just the world. Max wasn't the only vampire. So to make a sequel wouldn't be too hard, because it would have just been like, the town over, or,
And also, they never showed him die, technically.
That's true.
Because he was impaled through the stomach, not necessarily his heart.
And we all know.
Oh, also.
That the heart's not in the stomach.
No. There's controversy about if David was actually dead.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Because
nothing happened to him. Everybody else had some kind of reaction.
Yeah, he wasn't stabbed in the heart. And 2, what he was stabbed with was bone. Or antler. It was not wood.
Does it have to be wood, though? I think if you just...
It's always had to be wood.
It's always been wood. There's another vampire movie called Vamp, where they stab a vampire through the heart with, like, a wooden stake. And then later he comes back and goes, this is particle board, it didn't count. And just pulls the stake out and throws it aside because it's like like it didn't count for whatever reason. This was their joke in that. They were like, yeah, it was particle board or Formica, something like that. It didn't really count.
See, the issue with and I never read Bram Stoker's Dracula. I don't know if you have, but why does it have to be wood? If I had to take now, I believe they covered this in that Dracula 2000, or what are those, like, terrible 90s Dracula movies that came out? Where the wood probably came from, like, the tree from, like, Adam and Eve tree, or, like, the tree of life or something. Some, like, religious tree, like, the wood came from there, and that, because it was holy wood, and that's why it was used to...
Well, the whole thing with it was it had to be a wooden stake because, what's his name? Vlad the Impaler impaled everyone on stakes and hung them up.
Okay.
So, and he put them on wooden stakes.
So it was kind of like, oh, fuck you. Like, you did this to everybody, and now this is how we're going to get you.
This is how we're going to get you.
This is how it gets back to you, yeah.
Yeah, that was, the kind of the irony of that's the thing that'll kill him is the thing that he killed everybody with in life.
I'm sorry. If I pierce you in the heart with a pipe, I feel like you should just die. You have no heart now. But
it doesn't.
This is the thing. Is it the undead or the living dead? And I feel like that's where it makes it. Because if it was the living dead, if you stab someone in the heart, they're gonna fucking die. But if it's the undead, they're already dead, and if you stab them in the heart, it doesn't matter because there's no blood flowing in their veins in their body, so they're already dead. So
their blood came out, and it was like black when it came out. So
that's because they're evil.
Yeah.
They were really, really, really evil.
Well, that's hard to say. They would have probably got into that in the sequels to it. But, yeah, everything invents its own rules with it. Maybe in theirs, it just has to be anything through the heart.
As long as it didn't sparkle.
Yeah.
Now, I know, and you can talk more about this, Shad, because you grew up reading comic books. Comic books was a big thing. At one point, comic books were, like, looked down upon. It was like, what are you reading? Why, reading comic books?
Yeah.
Who's doing that? Now, the whole scene where we meet Edgar Frog and other Frog brother.
Alan. Edgar Allan.
Edgar and Alan Frog.
No, his name was Alan. Are you kidding
Yes,
me?
it was.
Edgar and Alan Frog.
I can't.
And they have hippie parents.
Who read Edgar Allan Poe, obviously.
Yeah, Edgar. Okay, I get it now. They were in the comic book shop, which I find hilarious that the Frog Brothers, their fucking like source of research material is a comic book.
That we don't know that though.
He's reading a comic book.
Yeah.
It's
he's
about
just
a
saying
vampire.
these comic books they're based off of real life. Because he also said there's ghouls and werewolves in City Hall or something along those lines.
Which would expand that universe, and I would also accept if they would have had that in like the sequel.
This is one I'm surprised that they haven't remade, to be quite honest. I can see this. If they were going to remake this, I think they ought to do it as like a TV series.
This is a film that should never be touched, and I'm going to tell you why. Because it's going to be Stranger Things, whatever's hot whenever they decide to make this,
and
that's what they're going to base it on. It's going to be
and
very
Facebooks.
Trendy Stephen King, Stranger Things / Fear Street, which I fucking hated. Whatever, hate me out there in the world. I did not like Fear Street. That's because I am literally love the Fear Street universe, and they just totally made those movies, the first two anyway. It's just the whole overall look and the homages. It's just too much. So I didn't care for any of that. I don't think that it would fare well. And you're not going to get that same chemistry. There's no Diane Wiest out there for me. There's no Kiefer Sutherland. There's no Corey Haim and Corey Feldman. It was like perfect chemistry between everyone. And that's what made it such a great movie and a classic. And you can't redo that again.
And you shouldn't.
Which is crazy because if someone would tell me maybe in the 90s because in the 90s they ruined everything. So no. Because I was going to say, well, someone could say that about The Fly or The Thing or any other of the other three films. Because there's like 5.
Yeah, but there's such a difference in
that came out. Well, that's because those films are all black and white. You know, they're older films that don't have any, practical effects. They don't have any of that. And then these people that were so in love with those films that grew up, like John Carpenter and Cronenberg, they literally loved them so much they wanted to recreate them and add on to it, and when you really love something, that's when you're able to. Because
it wasn't about making a cash grab.
Exactly.
That's what it's about 98% of the time.
It's for the love of the film and the love of what they're capable of doing with the quote unquote technology and meaning the practical effects that they're able to pull off.
Well, at least one thing they could do now, they wouldn't have to wear the painful contacts.
That's true. That's the only, I know
That'd be nice for them.
They did complain about that.
Because they encompass your whole eye.
And they weren't
and could blind you.
Yeah, they were glass. They were like actual glass ones. So
fun fact, they made a artistic decision. Instead of putting the fangs on the stereotypical canine teeth, they put it on the second tooth, on the outside of the big tooth, which made it look a little different.
Made it look freaky.
Yeah.
Sexy. I'd let him bite me.
Now, there's a novelization of this that I've been trying to find forever, but maybe they'll put it out again because they're starting to reissue. There's a company called Encyclopedia Apocalyptica that they're reissuing a lot of the horror movie novelizations from the 80s.
Email them.
I'm sure people probably have because they re-put out the Fright Night one. They reissued it, and we got it. Because you try to find some of these novelizations, and they're like $200 for a beat-up copy that looks like someone drug it behind their car. And it's like no, but
you can always make an offer, be like, "I'll give you $20."
And they've even had people write some new ones, novelizations of horror movies from the 80s that never got one. That they're like, "Hey, let's just have somebody write this," and they've been doing it. So that's kind of cool. But in the novelization of this, apparently the big difference is the scene where they attack the guys on the beach and kill them. That was actually like a rival gang of theirs. It was like someone, a
rival vampire gang?
No, like not vampires, but just like humans that they would kind of fuck with.
When they were human?
No, just that they were like another big gang on the
boardwalk
and all that. And they were kind of interfering with them and messing with, they got into fights before, so when they saw him out there alone, they just jumped him. In the book, they're also like supposed to be. That's why you see several of them are bald. They're also skinheads.
Yeah.
So that's why they're like, it's like in the novelization they call them like the surf Nazis. They just refer to them as the surf Nazis because
they actually refer to that, I think, in the behind the scenes too.
Yeah, so that's why the thing is, so it kind of showed that like, hey, these guys are vampires, but they don't tolerate any Nazi bullshit because as soon as they got the chance, they went and killed those guys immediately.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I thought that was a neat addition to it. That if they did do a new version of it, that would be something to put in. It would be kind of cool. And I think if they're going to update it, they ought to do the Lost Girls version of it too, because then you wouldn't have quite so many comparisons to all the guys and be like, well, that guy's no Kiefer Sutherland.
Just can't. It would just, there's nothing that'll be good about it.
I mean, we kind of got a Lost Girls film with the film Bite.
Yeah.
Right? So, and I like that film. I mean, it's a good film.
It was pretty good.
Did I see this?
No.
I don't think so. It's pretty good. It's a little different. It is a little bit in the Lost. Yeah, it is kind of a Lost Boys thing where she goes from like a small town out to California to stay with her brother, and she falls in with a group of female vampires. It's pretty decent. It was at Popcorn Frights one year, and it's a low budget kind of thing, but not to where it hurts it really. Like they kept the story within the budget, Some of these things they tried to make like a low budget movie, but they have a script that needs more money, so it doesn't work out. But they kept it within reason, so it did pretty good. Now another vampire movie that came out this same year that also was very different than everything that came out was Near Dark.
Oh yes,
that movie came out like a few months later, but it was like a $3 million movie.
I didn't particularly like that movie. I think it's cool that it's got all the Terminator people, but...
Well, yeah, it was from...
or Alien, also?
Yeah. It's literally all the cast of Aliens.
That's what it was. It was Aliens, yeah.
Yeah, because it's Bill Paxton, Lance Henriksen, and Jeanette Goldstein. And then it's... what's her name? Cameron's ex that directed it. That's bugging me. I can't think of her name now. But yeah, she...
The one the Academy Award?
Yes.
Hill?
Caroline... Catherine
Hill, I want to say?
No.
Give me a second, I'm looking it up. I totally blanked on her name. But yeah, that's where she got all these people because they were, she was still friends with Cameron. Catherine Bigelow.
Hey.
And written by the guy who wrote The Hitcher.
Oh, I love that film.
Yeah.
I've never seen it. I want to.
Oh, it's
Isn't
great.
there a remake with Sean Bean?
Yes, and it's not good. Stay away from it. But, that's another one that broke a lot of the vampire molds. They had people doing different things. But in the same way, it's very similar to Lost Boys because you've got like the family. It's like the man and woman. They're like adopting a little
family unit.
Yeah, they're at the family unit and everything. You've got like the parents, which is Lance Henriksen, Jeanette Goldstein, then kind of the kids, which is the younger boy and the.
I hate that guy. I hate that boy actor.
That isn't that the kid from The Worst Witch, the brother.
No, from Teen Witch.
Oh, Teen Witch.
Yes, and I
Teen
hate him there too.
Yeah,
I love that kid. Hey, that kid made Final Girls.
Well, that's good. He should never be in front of the camera again.
I'm dead. You know why I said The Worst Witch? I have a weird photographic memory because yesterday I was looking through my VHSs and I have The Worst Witch VHS. And
you do?
Yes, I do. And it literally stood
Why
out.
have I never seen this?
I don't know. We have to do a Worst Witch podcast.
Okay, reel it back in.
Now we're going into the witches. Near Dark. So I'm going to tell you, I own like the special edition of this movie. Like the beautiful packaging. It has like a shimmery like background effect, right? And I couldn't. And I seen this movie. I want to say 2 times. I don't remember anything about this movie.
I don't remember anything about it either.
That there's a van and there's driving and the vampires.
I don't know anything about this movie either.
You have to watch this movie because I don't remember a lick of it. And also I feel like it's one of the movies that I'm like, I bought it because I feel like you have to have this movie. And also I love vampires, so I feel like I have to own like the 80s.
Well,
this is
one of the first things that had Adrian Pasdar in it, who went on to be in that show Prophet. He was in Heroes. He's done a lot of good things, and I got to meet him at one of the conventions. And of course, everybody at the time was there to talk to him about Heroes. I had all the questions about Near Dark, which he was like, "Oh yeah," he's like, "We spent like $3 million to make that movie, and it turned out great." He goes, "They're about to remake it now with a $50 million budget." And it's going to be terrible. I'm going to tell you that right now. He's like, that movie was designed to be a low-budget movie, not a big-budget thing. He's like, that's why they didn't even show the fangs on the vampires, because we didn't have money to make fangs. They just showed them biting and just ripping everybody's throat out. He's like, that's why, because we couldn't afford it. It's like, now they're going to ruin this whole little low-budget movie we did by doing it with a $50 million thing. He's like, yeah, I don't plan to see that one. It never came to pass. They never made it, but he was very offended by the fact that they were going to spend $50 million to make this movie that they all got paid nothing for,
I'm sure.
So this was Catherine Bigelow's first directorial debut, and then fucking 20,000 years later, she was an Academy Award. Like
for what? Zero Dark 30?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's so crazy how you can. I mean, and she's done all different kinds of genres.
I think it was the Hurt Locker she got it for, wasn't it?
Or is it the Hurt Locker?
She did both. So.
Oh.
Maybe she won twice.
No, I think she just won once. But she was the first woman to win Best Director.
That's what it was, yeah.
We're going to go with it's going to be the Hurt Locker.
I think it's Zero Dark 30.
Oh, silence as we look up this movie.
It's the Hurt Locker.
Yeah.
Yep, she won Academy Award for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Original Screenplay.
Wasn't this also the first movie of the Coreys?
Yes. Lost Boys was the first one they were in together, and then after that, they were in so many.
Was it 7?
I think so, yeah. I remember going to see License to Drive when I was in high school, too.
I love that movie.
Not because I was particularly excited to see it, just because it was the big group thing that a whole bunch of people are like, oh, like 9 of us are all going to see License to Drive. Do you want to go? Yeah, sure.
It was a cute movie.
It was fine.
Dream a Little Dream.
Never saw it.
That one I never saw.
Not part 2.
I've never seen anything else with the two of them in it.
What?
No.
I mean, to be fair, you did say the first time you saw this movie you were like 2 years old, so.
Yeah, very obsessed with Kiefer Sutherland.
You get a pass.
As a child, he was my first crush. Is Kiefer Sutherland as David.
You know what I feel kind of pissed off about? Now that I'm really thinking about like actors and vampire films or whatnot, we never got to see James Spader as a vampire because, man, he would have been one sexy motherfucking vampire. But we did get to see him as a werewolf, so I feel like
you got to see him naked, floating, and having sex in space in zero gravity.
In Supernova.
Oh, I never saw that movie.
Yeah.
Well, you need to see that.
He's literally naked. Well, who was it? Angela Bassett?
Yeah, Angela Bassett, and then you also see Robin, what's her name from The Craft, floating around having sex naked in that
Robin
too.
Jr.?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
I don't care about any of those. I want him to be a vampire. I don't care about him floating around in space, and it's a space movie,
naked,
which is why I didn't see it. I've seen him naked before or something.
It's an Event Horizon kind of thing.
Oh, then I definitely will not be watching.
Oh no, that movie really freaks me out.
That movie is fucking terrifying. So, do you want to I kind of like with touching base with the whole comic book thing, but that's my favorite. I love that scene because for me, unlike Carrie, opposes when they meet, the Frog Brothers
I love that.
Sam.
I love that scene.
Know how their knowledge of vampire hunting and killing came from the comic books that they read.
I guess I never thought about it that way.
And because they give Sam the comic book, they're like, read this, and he takes it home and he's reading it because it has the fucking crazy
Which
story.
Apparently they still have that comic like signed by the whole cast on display at that comic store out there in Santa Cruz.
That would be amazing to go to.
They allow you to hold it and take your picture with it.
That's amazing.
I'm sure it's in a protective cover though.
Well, I mean, they take it out and let you look at it and like touch it.
Do
it
they
says
really?
they actually let you take it out and like hold it and take a picture of it.
That's fantastic.
I might have to go to California after all.
Yes, I would go. Well, I have to go to California for many reasons because it's like the horror capital of the world. Like it has all the amazing horror things. Damn you, California.
Well, the thing with it too is like talking about the comic books. In the 70s, really big thing to do for the comic books was whatever was big in movies, rip it off and make a comic of it. Because in the 70s, when all the Dracula movies were coming out and they were super popular, that's when Marvel decided to come out with a comic book about Dracula, The Tomb of Dracula. A werewolf movie came out and got big. Oh, we got a Werewolf by Night comic. You get a kung fu movie that's real big. Oh, we got Iron Fist. They would, whatever came out movie-wise that was popular, they immediately ripped it off and made a comic book of it. That's why when all the movies about Satan came out, you had the comic book just called Son of Satan, where they just literally had a character named Damien Hellstrom, who was the son of the devil out doing, different things. They were just blatant about it. They were like, fuck you, you can't copyright the name Damien, or you can't copyright being the son of Satan, so we're just going to rip it off. Or Ghost Rider, or any of that stuff, when they were just like, oh, demons and horror are big, we're going to start a whole bunch of horror shit.
Yeah.
So that's probably what they're kind of referencing there is these kids weren't old enough to see all these movies, but they were old enough to read all the comic books about them from working in the store.
Exactly. It was appropriate for the age range that these kids were because they were kids. Obviously, they weren't hopping. There was no internet. They weren't hopping the internet to Google these things, to do the fast Google where the first, fucking search is everything you need to know about vampires.
Oh, yeah, I love that. In the movies where they Google it, and it's always the first search. You received $10 million searches on here, the first one.
At that time frame, the point of reference was you went to the library, or you went to if you were, maybe an affluent family, or you had the Encyclopedia Britannica. That's where you would go. You would go down the volume of V for Vampire, and open it up. It wasn't going to be there.
Oh, I wish that was real today.
So,
or you remember
all the cool books that they actually pull out of the library when they're researching. I wish that was real.
I always love the fact that when they go to the library in some of these movies, they just go, let's go to the occult section.
Oh,
and
yeah.
There's always a fucking section they just walk in, and there's all these cool old books. Oh, here's Von Richten's Spirit Guide or whatever.
Exactly.
They pull this giant ass book out. It's why does this fucking library in the middle of nowhere have these goddamn
That's what I'm saying.
occult
You
section?
always wish it was actually real.
Yeah, I wish it was, but it was. You in my hometown, you went in and asked for the occult section. They were like, 1 moment, sir. 911, yes, we have a devil worshiper here. Please come and get it.
Like the book that they mention in Ghostbusters, the whatever's guide, spiritual guide.
Spirit guide or whatever. Yeah, they just go and get that.
If that was real, that'd be so cool.
I feel like, I'm not going to say that they're in England. There definitely are libraries like Oxford Library, those old libraries that do have books like those. Because they preserve their stuff. And
yeah, but you're not going to find that in a library in California.
No, you're definitely not going to find that. But I'm just saying it does exist to some extent, just probably not definitely stateside unless they bought it over in the Mayflower, which obviously they did not.
Maybe in Massachusetts and stuff.
Maybe in Massachusetts there might be something. We have to go hunting. I'm sure there's definitely something like that. But yes, it would be amazing to pull down, the crazy book. Parchment paper. It smells delicious. I love the smell of old books.
Well, they actually find a few of those books now that when they've investigated them, they turn out to be actually some of the pages and covers are human skin.
Yeah, human skin, yeah.
Because people were, that was a thing you could do back in the day.
I mean,
I'm rich. Make me a book out of human skin, Jeeves. I desire one.
I mean, if there's just dead, if you bought over influenza, if you bought over diseases, and there's just bodies plowed up, there's no paper. They're not cutting down trees.
Well,
just skin, John.
They used to use the fat of hangmen, right?
As you reference Hocus Pocus.
But I feel like that's real. Well, that's the lore of witches. Even the lore of bad witches, they use the baby fat.
Yeah. Quote unquote Hollywood witches.
Back to vampires.
So I think that we covered everything in the film.
And a couple of other movies and the 80s in general.
It was just a discussion.
The costuming was beautiful.
Yeah.
I loved every single outfit.
You just wanted all the Star's outfits. She has 2 outfits, I think.
I wanted Star's jacket. I wanted the little Laddie's jacket.
Laddie.
I wanted his cod piece.
Wink.
I'd wear that outside right now. One thing I will say, I never thought Michael was sexy when he turned into a vampire.
He was definitely more sexy unvampire, I feel.
Yes.
No, you know what? I have to retract because earlier I said that David and Michael became when they were vampires, they were super hot. For Michael, though, it was the fact that he was a vampire, not so much that he looked good as a vampire. To be honest, they both look terrible as vampires because they're scary.
No,
they don't look sexy with the ridges.
He looked hot
They look like
when he
vampire.
was like half vampire. When he was watching them kill the surf Nazis,
when
and
he was getting flustered,
like
when he was getting
hard.
Yeah, he was getting hard because the fucking blood was rushing. It was like,
no, but like,
oh, yeah.
So he had like the contacts and like the hot skin and like, look at me right now.
You're getting all. Sorry, it looks like someone threw a bucket of fucking water on her. Get the rag out.
She's getting red and sweaty over here.
I'm getting like using my hands.
Ooh, getting feverish over here.
Yes.
Carrie getting sweaty.
That to me was like hot. Damn.
See, this is why they should. Now, it's the guy's turn. This time we need to get the Lost Girls movie
but that's
with all the hot girls running around in it. I'm just saying.
Oh wow, a movie with hot girls.
I know.
Wow, that's never been done.
That's never been done, but we should try it.
Every horror movie from the beginning of fucking time has fucking girls' tits in it. Okay, let's
get some ding swinging.
We need some horror ding swinging. There you go. That's the name of my band. Horror ding swinging.
Like it.
What a year! Well, no, I shouldn't say what a year, but Alex Winter, man, he was in that. He was in Bill and Ted.
The very next year he was in Bill and Ted.
Has he been in anything else?
He's dead, so no.
He did a great movie. If you ever,
Carrie.
He's not dead.
He is dead.
He's not dead.
Alex Winter,
They
no,
just did
guy.
a movie.
You just saw them in Bill and Ted. The hell?
I apologize, guys. This is the second time that I have killed someone on the podcast, and they're still alive. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the other Lost Boy who died a couple of years ago.
Yes.
One of them died.
My bad.
And I met both of the other two, and it was a disappointing experience.
Wow, that's not good. Reel it back in. So you were saying, Chuck?
Alex Winter directed, I think he wrote and directed a great movie, if you've never seen it, called Freaked, where it's just, it's like an island of Dr. Moreau kind of thing, where they take people to this island, they all turn them all into freaks.
Love that movie with Marlon Brando. It's so bad.
Yeah, this is not that one, but yeah, it's crazy. Like Mr. T is in it as the bearded woman.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a crazy movie. It's fun. You should check it out sometime.
It was Brooke McCarter is the one who passed away in Tampa, Florida. In
I think he was the blonde.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken.
So, one of the many. I want to say half the cast is dead, but we almost getting there.
There's only 3.
The whole cast.
There's 4 that are passed. Also, very big controversy because Kiefer Sutherland was engaged to Julia Roberts and she left him for Jason Patrick.
Ooh.
Like a week or 2 before the wedding. Or something along that line.
She pulled a runaway bride before she was the runaway bride?
Yep.
Wow, that must have been awkward when they were in that, was it?
Well, they've only now, reconciled, apparently.
What was that movie they were in, though, together, it was a couple years after this.
I don't know. I didn't even know they were together. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
I can't think of the name
I'm
of this
sure
movie
she
now.
regrets that because who's more famous? No offense.
She is.
Out of the men, Carrie.
She is.
I'm dead. Not including herself.
I know, but it doesn't matter.
She's like, she is. Okay, fine. She is.
Yeah,
but I'm saying out of the men. Kiefer Sutherland is more famous.
Yeah.
That's wild.
I am trying to think of the name of this stupid damn movie.
It wasn't good, obviously, Shad, if you don't even remember the movie. I don't even know when I love Julia Roberts.
It's the one where they all kill themselves and then they come back from the dead.
Flatliners.
Flatliners. How? Wow.
But that came out a few years later, and she was in that.
What a horror faux pas that we totally flatlined on the name of that movie.
I couldn't remember.
I didn't. I remembered it.
Okay, well, I'm sorry.
Because I'm saying Julia Roberts was in that was Kiefer Sutherland, and that was a few years later. That had to be awkward for him.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were in that movie together.
So that had to be awkward.
I think maybe that's when it happened.
So it was a few years later, not at the same.
Yes, that's when they started dating.
Yeah, Flatliners came out in 1990.
How is Elliot, formerly Ellen Page, in that Flatliners movie?
Because they remade that movie.
No. She's a parent. He, whatever, is...
Because
A
the
flashback scene.
internet.
Maybe one of the flashback scenes, because they flashbacked a few times, did flashbacks to like
But
when
no,
they were
it's
younger.
saying she's in the cat. Was she
She was in the movie Flatliners, Carrie.
as a baby?
No. I'm sorry. They remade the movie, and she's in the remake of the movie.
Oh.
That's what I kept saying. She's in the movie. They remade the movie in 2017.
Funny enough, guess who directed Flatliners?
Joel
Peter
Schumacher.
Sutherland.
Joel Schumacher.
He did it. That Flatliners. Yes. He was a busy guy.
R.I.P.
Yeah, he did a lot of stuff up through the 80s, 90s, up and into, I think the last one he did was something around maybe like 2010 or something. He was still pretty busy.
That Flatliners, I had to watch it because I have this hate for Nina Dobrev, and I had to see the movie because when I don't like someone, I have to watch the movie that they're in, so I could be like justified, like you're just terrible.
So that's why we need to go see Rob Zombie in concert.
If I go there, I'm gonna get arrested because I have a whole fantasy where I like
throw a tomato at Rob Zombie.
No, I just like cuss him the hell out, and it's like a big fantasy of mine. But anyways. Flatliners, so she left him for that, so who cares? Like, it's been so long. Is she over it? Is he over it? He can't be over it because it's just like Julia Roberts, like, come on.
I'm sure he's over. It's been 30
No, he was over it when he was like, yeah, guess what Jason Patrick's doing? Nothing.
Speed 2. Which
Yeah.
I liked. I think I'm the only one.
You're the only one in the world. We have to actually omit that part from the podcast because we might get major hate mail.
I like it.
So if you haven't checked out The Lost Boys, please do. It's the perfect month to do so and celebrate.
And this might be one of those perfect 80s films, too.
35th anniversary.
This is like the prototypical, like, where people said, like, hey, this is an MTV horror movie. They weren't wrong. A lot of the vampire movies that were before this tended to be kind of very slow moving and, they weren't really fast paced. This one really kicked it up because, like you said, most of the movies before this were like the Dracula ones, where it was a remake of Dracula over and over again, and it followed the same beats just with different actors. This was one of the first ones, besides stuff like The Hunger and some other things, that really kind of popularized, like, faster pace and a lot more action in it.
Yeah, we're gonna take The Hunger out of that sentence because The Hunger is very fucking slow paced.
I'm just saying about like
the sexy look.
Yeah,
those are very underground, sexy vampires. And
yeah, you got David Bowie in that, so you're gonna have like weird, creepy, sexy vibes coming off of
Magic dance. Sorry,
he's not singing that in the beginning.
I know, but codpiece,
he does do some crazy stuff in that movie, though.
Let me say that I was going to say something about The Lost Boys, and I totally forgot what I was going to say. So I think that's it. No, I disagree with the whole MTV comment of The Lost Boys because if they're a younger crowd, okay. But I don't think there wasn't music playing throughout the whole thing, like very popular music.
Yes, there was.
That soundtrack sold a ton.
It's very popular.
I know, but I don't. When I hear that music, I don't think MTV. When I think of MTV in that time, I think of Radio Kill the Radio Star, and then like all like the very poppy. That's very like gothic ass new wave shit that they
Journey,
played.
NXS.
Like, yeah, I wouldn't say.
But this stuff was pretty popular and got played a lot on MTV back at the time. Back, when they actually played music.
To be fair, out of the three of us, you're the one that was going to be the most cognizant.
Yeah.
During that time frame, so I guess I have to take your word for it because I was not alive.
To be fair, as we close out, MTV used to play a lot more variety of things. From 80 to about 90, they played a pretty good variety of things. They had separate shows for some of the hardcore stuff, like they had all shows dedicated to rap, shows dedicated to metal.
That's true.
And they would play a lot of the stuff that you didn't hear on the radio. They would play it there because they got the videos for free, so why not? So you did hear a lot of this stuff, and
I
then
just don't equate like Jim Morrison to MTV. When I think of MTV and I don't think, oh, Jim Morrison. Like they're playing that. That's not.
This was like remember, this wasn't the Morrison version of it. This was the Echo and the Bunnymen version.
Still,
who were kind of an
one
underground.
Of my favorite.
Yeah, it's a little different at the time.
It's just, I don't, that's, and then I think of like Bleach Bomb Beach Babes, say that 4 times, with like hot pink
beach babes
bikinis. You know, that's what I think about MTV in that time.
Well, you got a lot of difference. Like I said, it was a little better then.
Yeah. Okay.
Once you got into the 90s, that's when you got into the. For a while, you had the Nirvana and stuff on there, and then by like 95, 96, they started phasing out everything, and it just became like the fucking reality shows from there on.
Yeah. Why you had to sigh right before you said Nirvana though?
Because I'm having trouble breathing. Remember?
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I had it wasn't towards Nirvana. I just wanted, because then we were gonna have like a whole conversation
Nirvana's
on
okay.
the whole whatever. You have no comment on that because that's not in your time frame.
They're okay.
So we're all giving this movie a high rating, high recommendation.
Highest of the high.
Yes.
10 knives.
Definitely, if you like vampires, this is like
and 80s.
The 80s, but more so vampires.
And good movies.
Because I feel like if you didn't like 80s movies, I wouldn't say. I mean, yes, this movie obviously was made in the 80s, but it's not. I don't know. I just see it more as a vampire film. You know,
okay,
it's just vampires.
That's fine.
Hot vampires. You know, I want to go on the boardwalk and get bitten by a vampire, not a regular person. I want a regular person, or a troll, or one of the ghouls that worked at the city hall that they mentioned. I don't want that. I just want the vampire. So yeah, I definitely recommend this film to everybody who just wants to watch a good film and eat
rice, eat Chinese food.
Oh yeah, and eat. Yeah, you definitely gotta eat Chinese food.
They're only noodles, Michael.
Yeah, this is your definite dinner recommendations. Go get some Chinese, leave it in the cardboard containers, and eat it while you watch this movie.
Definitely, I give it 5 knives.
Or spaghetti.
Oh, I'm sorry, I give it 4 knives.
Out of how many?
4.
Out of 4.
It got a 10.
4 knives.
You can have spaghetti too, because they eat spaghetti and give them raw garlic.
Raw garlic, yes.
That's a really funny scene too, when they're doing all like the
stereotypical
tests.
Yeah.
Don't invite a vampire into your house, you silly boy. It renders you powerless.
They're like, oh shit, we skipped that part.
Do you know that? Of course, everyone knows that.
Yeah.
See, I can quote all of it.
But yet, he didn't tell the guy he invited the vampire in. I guess once your brother's a vampire, it's fucked from there, right? He's just like, come on. And I guess they started that whole thing because was that in the older movies about inviting a vampire in?
Yeah.
I don't remember. All I remember from like the Hammer films is like that weird coloring that the Hammer films have, and then like boobs and like long black hair. That's literally, and then like ugly old men. That's the only thing I take away from any of those horror Hammer films.
Yeah, they had that in a few of them where the vampire would, couldn't come in. But of course, at the dinner, when they show up to the dinner party, they're always like, "Oh, I insist you invite me in," or "Oh, am I coming in tonight?" And of course, all you had to do was open the door and say, "Well, come on in." They're like, "Yep, I'm in."
Yeah, because they fucking Svengali you at the damn door.
Yeah,
because they weren't gonna get in with their looks. On that note, thank you so much for joining us on this very special episode where we discuss the 35th anniversary of The Lost Boys and some other bullshit that we talked about.
Yeah. We may have gotten off the rails here, but it was fun.
Stay tuned to the horror.
I'm Michael.
Michael's great. I like Michael. This is Michael.
Michael.
Mike.
Michael.
It's blood.
Yeah. Michael. Good night, Michael.
Mike. Michael. 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 Michael.
Michael. Michael.
Michael.
Michael. Michael. Michael.
Mike. Michael. Michael.
Mike.
Michael.
Mike.
Mike. Mike. Mike. Mike. Mike. Mike.
Michael.
Michael. Mike.
Mike. Mike. Mike. Mike. Michael.
Michael.
Mike. Michael.
Michael. Michael. Michael.
Michael.
Michael. Oh, Michael.
You must be Michael, right?